How we doing, everybody? It's time for a week in review. I've had a lot of questions in the room about where do I think we're heading to, and so I'm going to go ahead and just talk about it right now. Let's get it out of the way. So one of the main things I'm going to do is really look at both SPX and the SPY, and the reason for that, guys, is just because, as you know, I obviously trade the ES, the S&P 500 futures, but because I do trade the direct contract, I have a severe lack of data underneath basically this leg tip. I'll show you when we get to that point. And so I am referencing both of these charts. However, I have gone back and forth and looked at the continuous contract and vice versa. And I'm not really seeing anything that matters, so I'm going to keep it the way that I have it. So right now, let's just take a look and see what we got here. So this is our big monthly leg end here on both SPY and SPX. This is going to be extremely big for the monthly to close below. If we close below, there's a good chance that we could make a new low on this leg tip. For SPX, it'd be the 5100s and 510 on SPY. Now, do we know that's going to happen for sure? No, because the month hasn't closed. But I will say this, if they do close underneath here, it is not going to be good. We've had some serious news over the weekend. For those of you guys who really know me, know that I really don't give a shit about the news. I only care about when it's going to happen, not necessarily what the news is. Okay? So with that being said, I was looking at the news feed this morning, and it could make for quite an interesting open, as I'll show you here. We've had some Putin news this morning. Basically, Trump's all pissed off that that he doesn't want to make a deal, apparently with this whole war thing, and he's talking about doing more tariffs and all this and that. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out. So I don't know if the market necessarily cares about that, but I'm sure there'll be some knee-jerk reactions if depending on which way this goes. So anyways, long story short, I wanted to show you where we were at with the monthly time frame. Looking pretty rough. This particular area is extremely important, like I said. Let's go ahead and go down to the weekly time frame on both the SPY and SPX. So here's the thing, guys. Everything we have is fairly tested. We have a pretty substantial support lower around the 5,300 area, but if we get underneath this 5,500, we could really kind of slide down. We have some tested support here, and actually this looks to be untested on SPX. And I'll go ahead, actually, let's look and see. I have it marked as tested. Yeah, it's tested, sorry. So we have some tested support here at 5460, which could provide us with a little reaction, but I doubt it. Okay, so right now we've closed the weekly underneath the support to the high, which didn't gain anything. We actually, on both, as you can see, SPX and SPY, we basically hit the weekly leg to the all-time high on both of these almost perfectly, and we're coming down. So this is a big smack. I am expecting new lows underneath this wick. I'm expecting new lows underneath the leg on ES as well. And so I'm really looking for this. Now, it doesn't mean they can't bounce first, but it really is hard to say. Okay, so just looking at this right now, just to tell you, I don't have any support until we get down to about 5,300, 5,275 area on SPX, and the leg tip ultimately at 5,151. The same applies for SPY, which is down here in the, let's call it 528 area, and then basically 511 area for the leg tip. As you can see, I drew the monthly leg tip, and it is possible we come down here. However, I would be looking for some sort of bounce somewhere in this 5,300 range. Okay, so this thing's coming down. There's no question about it, in my opinion. So, let's go ahead and go down to the smaller time frame, which is the daily on both of these, and so that you guys can see what's up. Okay, as you can see, this is tested, so we'll go ahead and just change this. And so here's the deal. This is a big daily that we closed below on SPY. This was big. Now, right now, we are currently holding this on SPX, but SPX is RTH only. So this actually happened after the close, whereas obviously, as you can see, this didn't happen here. So we do have some untested support resistance directly above us on SPY, on SPX. If we get any kind of pop, I think this thing's shortable. Okay, down here below, the leg tip on SPX is untested, and it is also untested on ES, but we're here now. Okay, and I'll show you this soon. So right now on SPY, this thing looks like we're going to make new lows, and I would have to agree. I would be ultimately looking to get short pretty much right away, especially on a back test, which we're going to talk about. SPX certainly has some support down in here, which could or could not do much. But again, SPY is looking pretty soft. All this is tested down here. And, you know, I mean, if we wanted to say that this is untested, we can, just for shits and giggles, because technically it is. But it didn't gain anything. So I don't expect this to hold. It may get a reaction. We'll see. Right now, I would be looking for a potential back test around this 556 area. And then obviously if we pop higher, all this stuff is untested. I just don't think that this holds. Now, granted, I mean, if this holds, we could go back up. But, you know, this has really not, I mean, we've popped up and we've hit this weekly. We're coming down. And we've really closed underneath a lot of support here, guys. Let me just show you real quick on this too. This, even though this is our leg up, we have had a few different areas that I was really watching for us to close below and on the daily time frame. And this is technically our current daily to this high on both of these, okay? We have absolutely closed below this, right? So we've lost on the daily and we never gained on the weekly. So we are still coming down. All this stuff is good for a back test, and then we could come lower. So the reason that I'm really kind of focusing on these two, like I told you, is my data looks pretty scarce for ES, which I'll get into soon. But ultimately, underneath this leg end, I do have a little bit of support below us that is essentially a target, and you know, we could expect a bounce, but we'll look at it on ES right now. So let me go ahead and pull that over for you guys. So if you recall, I was talking about my data being spotty, so we're going to stick to the higher time frames. Look at this. This is terrible. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this over here. So my ETH data, as you guys know, I use RTH, but my ETH data looks okay on the weekly time frame. So as you can see, this is this big leg, 55.65, right? So if we get underneath this, my next area that I'll be looking for us to slide to and potentially take a target from is down here at 54.70, guys. 54.70, okay? That is like another 120, 30 points from where we're at now, okay? So again, it all underneath this 55.65, that's where it goes down, all right? So if we pop back up here, you're gonna see we have some areas to play for a short, which we'll get into, but ultimately I am still looking for more down at this point. We're playing this weekly here, which was super significant for us to hold on the way up. Now we've back tested it. We've closed underneath all this goodness here. And so, you know, for me, I'm looking for new lows on the leg tip. Now, can they get some relief after that? Absolutely. It's certainly possible. Okay. So like, let me just pull down this ETH daily here so you can see what I'm talking about. Again, my data is super spotty on this direct contract. But you can see underneath this area here, this is my next spot, okay? And then really I'm looking all the way down here, like this might play, this is untested, but you know, from where we're at right now, we closed at 56, I think we actually closed lower after the close here. Let me show you. Yeah, we closed at 02. And so underneath this area here, we're gonna continue to move down. So before I get ahead of myself, my apologies, let's go ahead and just go back over to the daily or the weekly time frame, just so we know we're looking, you know, from a high time frame perspective, 56.78 all the way to 5,700. And if we had to really kind of be like picky over here, we're going to look at, or you know, to the extreme side, we're going to look around 57.18. As you can see, this is our current leg up. I like this 56.78. This is what was lost at 57.1875. So this whole area, and we got this big monthly at 5,700. For those of you guys who are in the room, I talked about this monthly over here. This is our monthly leg to the all-time high. If we close below this, again, you know, we're looking for new lows underneath here. What's interesting is this is the ETH version, and it looks even worse. I mean, we've already played this leg at 52.90. And so this thing could really fucking get smoked. You know, there's no more monthly support down here if we end up losing below 5,700. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get this out of our way here. And yeah, so this is, again, like I said, underneath 55.66, we're looking for 54.70 and potentially lower. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull over my RTH daily now so you can see what's up. And then we'll go to the 4 hour and we'll probably stop there because there's no reason to even get get any more in depth and detail. So I've went ahead and just removed everything except for the RTH data. As you can see, if I put on or the RTH dailies, if I put everything else on here, you can see that underneath our 55.66, I've got nothing until 54.70. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and hide this and kind of look in, what we're looking for here. So they nearly back tested 56.38. They missed it by like a point or two, and it created this move down again, which essentially closed us even lower. This is the RTH close at 56.14. As we know, we just looked, we closed at 56.02 at the end of the day. They flushed into the close. This is our leg end up. A daily close under here is super ugly. So, will they do that tomorrow or this week? It's hard to say. But right now, again, we closed below these two dailies here at 64 and 74. So I'm looking for more down. And they closed below the 38 as well, which was my other daily support. So one thing they haven't lost is the main leg up. And then this was my sub leg. So for me, I'm looking for a back test at pretty much any one of these levels. Okay. And then obviously looking for lower. Underneath 94, like I said, I would take a target at 55.66, even though it's tested, but I would be expecting lower and probably all the way down to the 54.70s. So with that being said, I'm going to come over here and pull this 4-hour chart over for you guys. Now I know there's a lot of 4-hour levels on here and you're probably thinking, Jesus, but the reason I'm doing this is because I'm looking for an area to get short. I think this thing's going to continue to keep coming down. Okay, so my two preferred areas are the 1824, and I'll show you why. Okay, 5618, 5624. I think this is great. If we back up into these, I think this is a short, and it could take us basically all the way down to 5588. Now, as you know, we're not too far from that right now. We're at 5602. So it really wouldn't surprise me if we gap down at the open. We could gap down underneath this leg. I don't really know. All I know is they were super soft on Friday. They closed at the lows, which is, a pretty big sign that things are looking pretty bad. And so we'll see what happens. This 5607 isn't my favorite, but it is a daily, and I'll show you why. Or not, I'm sorry, it is a 4-hour. I'll show you why it's not my favorite, that these two are my personal favorites out of this. And then we've got the leg end at 55.88. So could this area get a reaction? It certainly could. I do know if we get below here in candle change, I'll be looking to short this to new lows. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into the smaller time frame right now. I'll show you what's up. First off, look at all this absorption right here. Okay, that is a shit ton of activity. After we pushed down on Friday, this is all Friday. They consolidated at the lows here. Buyers really tried to step up and push this thing up, and they couldn't get it done. They got absorbed, they got cooked, and now it's over. As you can see, our POC for Friday is 56.25. Okay, remember me saying that the 4-hour I liked was 56.24? Well, that's why. Okay, not only that, but we have 56.18.75, which we bounced around on so many times. Boom, boom, boom. That was Friday. Okay, that was at the lows before they flushed it. So I do like 18 and I do like 24. I also like 24 for this reason, even though we know that it is a POC on the TPO, it is clearly obvious that it is also the volume point of control right here. Okay, so this is a good area for us to take a short attempt at. Okay, I think your stop is pretty self-explanatory. If we get above all these buyers and above these wicks, we probably are going to continue to move up a little higher. And again, how high, I don't know. They basically missed this 56.38, which I'll show you. They just barely missed it, but I mean, I would be it's pretty fucking close. Right, so they do have 46.50 if they get above this area here, and then all this is very much untested. Okay, I shorted 56.64 on the way down, as you guys knew that were in the room the other day. I'll show you guys what's up. And sadly, they hit my runner here as I was trying to get all the way down to 01. But it is what it is. So this area is still very much untested. There's trapped up here. I like this for another hit if we were to come back up here. I just don't know if it's going to get back above these 4 hours. So we'll see what happens. There is just a lot of buyers in here. So, I think it's pretty slim pickings for that to happen. So with that being said, that's pretty much it. I mean, I can pull over this 1 hour for you real quick just to kind of show you from a 1 hour perspective. As you can see, 56.18 played basically 3 times. I got to start there. I got to shorten to 24, and I'll probably just stop out, probably above this area here, and then try again higher if that's the case. As we pull out the chart a little bit and back up, you can see 56.18. Look at all these wicks here. Boom, boom, boom. Big spot. Love that. Okay. And then even though 07 is absolutely a 4 hour and we're underneath it, that's why I marked it. It could play. It really could. But I would prefer this 18. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, if we gap lower on Sunday, we could very much backtest the 88.94 for a continued push down. My only concern about this, guys, is if we get underneath this leg tip, the pressure's off. And they could buy this back up to test something else, higher. And that's in that case, we could come all the way up here. But my assumption is it wouldn't come all the way back up here until we make new lows. Okay, once we make new lows on this leg, the pressure's off, things change a little bit. They could continue to slip all the way down here. But again, once they lose the low on the leg, that's when buyers will kind of step in a little bit and say, okay, hey, like we've made new lows. Let's see what we can do. So that's that whole breakdown theory, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see what happens. But that's essentially what I got for ES here, and I've showed you what I got for SPX and SPY. So I hope that helps everybody with this coming Monday, and have a great day. Cheers.